G'day battlers, and today we're going to be diving into CharmingP0ri's run through the South Korean qualifiers where they went on a 7-0 run, undefeated, which is really strong, especially when there is a lot of really stacked competition in this tournament, and a lot of his opponents are actually really strong as well. I'll talk about them as we come up to them, but essentially we can see the Drake of his graphic here with the usage, and we can see CharmingP0ri's team down below. If you want to skip straight to the battles, you can. There'll be timestamps in the sort of timeline down below, but you can see CharmingP0ri is running the Azumarill and Drapion core, which is so strong in the championship series. There is a reason they are number 1 and 2 on the usage data. It's also got the Diggersby, which provides really good ground coverage into the Drapion and Clodsire, while also giving you Fire Punch for access against Pokemon like Chargebug, which is actually quite high on the usage data here, which is kind of interesting. We've also got the Dugong, which again provides that ground type damage in Drill Run, while also giving you some Icy Wind debuff potential, which is so strong at the moment. We've got the Chargebug as well to break up those Azumarill Lapras teams that really have been so common, although interestingly Lapras is not very high in the usage data here, so maybe we won't see many Laprases, but we'll find out. And then rounding off the team with Malamar, which is a really powerful Pokemon that has really been upticking, I think, in how useful it is going to be, in that you have that access to a super effective fighting damage for so many Pokemon running around, like Alolan Sandslash, like Dugong, like Diggersby. That is, I think a lot of teams are running Pokemon that are a little bit unafraid because there is so little fighting damage running around. Superpower really helps that out, while also having that foul play to hit Pokemon like Claydol with a super effective Psywave, adding up damage so quickly against pretty much the entire meta, especially doing super effective damage into Pokemon like Clodsire. With that said, let's take a look at round number, well, actually we're not going to go to round 1, we're going to skip to round 4, I think this is. I think we're going to see 4, 5, 6, and 7. There was just a little bit of missing footage. Actually, no, we are going to start from round 3, my apologies. Round 3 with PKGLOng, and you can see they've got a team that is also quite interesting with Clodsire, Cradily, Talonflame, Melmetal, Guzzlord, and Jellicent. So Melmetal is a Pokemon that we saw succeed in the India qualifiers. You can actually watch my video of that run from V-Basist, succeeding with Melmetal. I believe he takes sort of equal first, top 4, and so a very interesting Pokemon that also gives you that ability to do some fighting type damage. Guzzlord, also a very powerful Pokemon, but CharmingP0ri has a lot of answers to it. Like most of his team actually answers Guzzlord, so I think that PKGLOng is really going to have to lean into those other Pokemon. And so let's just start up the battles and take a look at what we're going to get here. And of course, if you do, if this content is interesting to you or useful to you, please go ahead and subscribe for future content just like this. But let's get into it. Dugong lead into the Guzzlord. That is really tough for PKGLOng, and again, pretty tough to actually find a good matchup with that Guzzlord. So we see the swap into Jellicent, and CharmingP0ri is just leading the way here with a hard counter swap into the Malamar. Now, Malamar is going to take a fair bit of damage from Jellicent here. It is at the Shadow Ball, so it does a lot of damage, but these hexes aren't doing very much, and Malamar gets to these foul plays in only 10 turns. That is 5 seconds to a single foul play, and so PKGLOng goes down 2 shields, winning the matchup, because he really wants to avoid that Dugong going onto the Guzzlord. Unfortunately, CharmingP0ri has just revealed that he is very strong into that Guzzlord. Azumarill also a strong matchup, and so we see the attempted catch of the Play Rough into the Guzzlord, but CharmingP0ri goes, no, I actually think that Play Rough on my Azumarill is going to be quite strong in the back, especially if I want to get a bit of a KO onto the Jellicent, and so I can comfortably bring in my Dugong, tank the move here, go for the Icy Wind to get the KO, because there are no shields left on PKG's side. And then in comes the Jellicent. Okay, so something in the back is also going to be weak to this stuff. Maybe it's going to be, I mean, to be honest, most of the team is a little bit weak to this, like Clodsire or Cradily. Both wouldn't be completely ideal here, but you can see the catch on the Drill Run. It's actually the Melmetal, which is potentially even worse than if it was like a Clodsire or something, but still going to get a double Iron Bash. Actually, I talked about Superpower. Most Melmetal actually are running double Iron Bash Superpower as well, but we can see the swap back in, so CharmingP0ri is able to go for the Play Rough, get the KO here, and that is GG's game number 1. Game number 2, hoping to see no Guzzlord, and we do see the Drapion into the Melmetal. Bit of an interesting matchup. It's not one that most people have looked at, but the pacing of Melmetal is sort of really quick. Drapion can be a bit quicker with some Aqua Tails in here, but the crunch is going to be able to go through. There's a 30% chance of that defense debuff as well. Don't see it this time, but getting a shield advantage, CharmingP0ri is now able to go into the Malamar, tank the energy from the Melmetal, and now has a lot of energy going into what is now coming in the Clodsire. Clodsire doesn't love the Psy Waves, but it is actually pretty good at tanking this foul play damage. damage, you're sort of forcing CharmingP0ri to burn a shield if they want to keep this Malamar around. But because Malamar was able to get so much energy from the Melmetal matchup, they're able to get to a third one here, but actually deciding to bank it. CharmingP0ri really identifying how strong energy advantage is in this particular meta, going for a Psywave farm down, but instead PKG swaps into the Melmetal. We've got a lot of energy here, so the big superpower KOs the Melmetal. If the Clodsire comes in, we can probably still Psywave down, and it's the Jellicent, so we can even get super effective damage here with the foul play. We've even got that Dugong in the back that is going to be relatively okay into the back line as well. Jellicent going to shield up the Shadow Ball. This is one of the moves that could do the most damage potentially, and so we are going to see the drill run propping off here. There isn't a whole lot that PKG can do. Maybe they can like try and catch a move, but there's not really a move you want to catch, to be honest with you. So unless CharmingP0ri starts going for baits, this is a situation where they actually do try and catch the drill run. Unsuccessful. CharmingP0ri staying absolutely calm, going for the drill run and gets the KO here. Bit of a technical oopsie on my end, but we now are going into round number 4, and this is one of CharmingP0ri's strongest opponents, Goji0408. Now, Goji actually won the South Korean qualifiers or playoffs last season, competed at Worlds, a really, really strong battler, and so CharmingP0ri is definitely going to have to bring his all to take on Goji, who is actually running Lucario, which is really, really interesting, and I will spoil it, Goji does go ahead and secure a placement in the playoffs as well. Actually, I think, I want to say that he came third. I think he went 6-1 in this overall tournament, and because I've already told you that CharmingP0ri goes 7-0, it does mean that this is Goji's only loss. With Lucario is really, really cool, but you can also see he's got the Clodsire, Azumarill, Kanto Shadow Marowak, which isn't around too much these days, also running the Mandibuzz and the Charjabug, and so as much as I'm really hoping for a lot of Lucario gameplay, it can be a bit of it's going to be tough in that you really want to land it on good Pokemon. It can go pretty wrong for you, but actually, like, depending on the moveset, it could be quite a powerful pick, so I am going to be hoping that we do see some Lucario gameplay. Marowak could be relatively strong as well, but great lead for CharmingP0ri. Off rip the Charjabug into the Mandibuzz. We see the counter swap into the Charjabug, and so CharmingP0ri has a perfect counter swap in the back. The Diggersby is hanging out here, and Diggersby looks quite strong into Goji's team as a whole. Like, the only Pokemon you really don't want to see is that Azumarill, and the Mandibuzz isn't too great for you either, but still. The fact that not only are we getting Diggersby into a good matchup here up against the Charjabug, but also avoiding the Mandibuzz that we saw in the lead puts CharmingP0ri in a really strong position. Again, recognizing that that Charjabug is going to be quite strong. Now, Goji makes an interesting play here, swapping into the Mandibuzz. Traditionally, if you're sort of at a basic level, you might go like, okay, I don't want my Mandibuzz to be up against that Charjabug. I do not want to lose switch advantage. But here, Goji is actually sort of making a good call here because there is an Azumarill in the back. Azumarill also looking very strong into Goji's team. And so sort of recognizing like, look, my Mandibuzz is in a bit of a tough spot. I was hoping to get a good lead. I'm just going to have to do with it what I can. And so we're seeing a lot of swaps here with the Azumarill coming in. CharmingP0ri just staying on top of it. And this is actually even better for CharmingP0ri, to be honest with you, because instead of using up your Charjabug against the Azumarill, against the Mandibuzz, sorry, and then keeping your own Azumarill for the Mandibuzz, I guess what would have happened otherwise is that it would have been an Azumarill mirror match and Charjabug would have beaten Mandibuzz. Instead, we're in a much better scenario where Charjabug is up against Azumarill and Azumarill is up against Mandibuzz. So much more play for CharmingP0ri, and so unfortunately Goji's Mandibuzz swap really didn't work out for him, although admittedly it was going to be a bit of a tough one to get out of. Anyway, CharmingP0ri again playing excellently with keeping energy in all places, keeping energy advantage in all places, and this is really how CharmingP0ri, I expect, is going to be pushing through this big 7-0 because it is such a high skill play instead of making sure you always have energy at the kilter. Looks like we just skipped straight to game number 2. We've got the Malamar into the Clodsire. Again, a pretty decent lead, and you can see that we are ABA strong into the Clodsire. Diggersby, another strong Clodsire answer in the back, and Charjabug definitely just absolutely cheering that it does not have to face the Clodsire here. So Goji actually staying in for quite a while, throwing another Sludge Bomb into the Malamar. We're seeing Malamar get past 2 charge attacks, getting really, really like close to that 100 energy mark. This foul play is going to be enough to KO, and now it is the Azumarill coming in. Azumarill is the ultimate sponge in this meta, where actually, and this is a really heads up play from CharmingP0ri. He does not want to swap out of this Malamar and give Goji the ability to counter swap. They want this Malamar to go down as quickly as possible so they can bring in the Charjabug and make sure that alignment stays exactly where CharmingP0ri wants it. Going for those superpowers to sort of make sure that Azumarill is going to go down, Malamar is going to go down even faster as well. We can see the Kato Marowak in the back and being met by the Diggersby here. Now, with Goji having shield advantage going into this matchup, this makes it a little bit rough for CharmingP0ri, excuse me. And so it's sort of a case where like CharmingP0ri is really going to have to figure out some way to get around this because it is not good. Goes for the Fire Punch, trying to get a shield, does get that last shield out of Goji. Can he get to another move? Barely, not able to. And so now CharmingP0ri needs to use the Protect Shield here against the Marowak and needs this X-Scissor to KO because otherwise this Marowak is going to quickly get to another move. Does get the KO on Marowak and now we just need this Discharge onto the Azumarill. We do get it. Really, really tight stuff and really, really good for CharmingP0ri that they were able to play so strongly with that energy advantage. Because if you didn't have those energy advantages earlier with the Diggersby, like all of a sudden you're in a much, much worse spot. So really nice gameplay from CharmingP0ri and making it look quite easy in the grand scheme of things. And so we do see Goji again was able to secure a spot in the playoffs already. I get confused between playoffs and qualifiers because it feels like qualifiers should mean qualifying for the World Championships, not how it works. That is actually the playoffs. So we are going to go into the next round up against PSNXLegendPush, who also, I believe, came second in this tournament with a 6-1 result. So again, really strong team and another interesting pick. You could say Emolga is an interesting pick, but Florges is a really interesting pick, and I absolutely love to see it here. With access to Fairy Wind, it is definitely not a Pokemon that people have been preparing for, and so we'll see if Legend Push can sort of push us to think that this is a strong Pokemon going into the meta. Otherwise, we're on a relatively a lot of similar picks, but that Alolan Sandslash is a bit tough to bring when there are so many counters running around. I think that the Sableye is going to be a very powerful Pokemon for Legend Push with sort of neutral play across the entire team, and so that is really what CharmingP0ri is going to have to build around, make sure that he can avoid that Sableye, and also he's actually got some decent opportunity to get in good positions as well. Speaking of, we've got the Dugong into the Diggersby in the lead. Great matchup. We see the swap out into, it's a Sableye. I couldn't quite see, my screen's a little bit small, but decent matchup here with Drapion into the Sableye, shielding up the foul play as well, I think that was. And so now we've got the big crunch, which would do a lot of damage to the Sableye, but Sableye does have the energy advantage here. And so Legend Push can sort of dictate how this match is going to go. Going for another foul play bait and succeeding as well means that Legend Push now has the advantage, but it actually lets the Sableye go to the crunch, wants to get a shield advantage, and so this is a really interesting position because now the Florges is going to come in. It is using Fairy Wind as a fast move, but it has big Trailblaze damage coming in as well, which is going to boost its Fairy Wind damage, which doesn't do a lot to Azumarill, but it will make the Trailblazes even stronger, and so I think that a second Trailblaze is enough to KO here. Legend Push really carefully timing their moves to make sure that they can get the maximum amount of farm before KOing, even gets a move off against this Drapion before itself can get a move off, gets the KO even against the Drapion, and now it is just the Dugong in the back. He's gonna throw the Icy Wind here into the Diggersby, but at this point there is a lot of work for this Dugong to do. Kind of interesting that Legend Push decided to let the Florges go in terms of like swapping it out, getting rid of the Trailblaze buffs, but recognizing that the Scorching Sands was going to do a lot of damage, and by doing this, he can actually guarantee getting a Fire Punch in as well, and Florges now going to go for the Trailblaze that it looks like, yeah, the recording just stops, gets the KO and wins game 1, which means CharmingP0ri needs to win the next 2 games to keep this 7-0 dream alive. Diggersby mirror match, we're going to go for the Scorching Sands straight away, no debuff on that one, and so we're going to no shield back. It is the Scorching Sands in return by the looks of it. A little bit confusing when the Scorching Sands animation does have a bit of fire to it and, the words aren't in English, but I'm sure we'll be able to figure it out. There's another Scorching Sands bringing it down into the yellow. We've got a Scorching Sands just being thrown back and forth and finally gets the debuff, putting Legend Push in a really strong position. Because of that, CharmingP0ri swaps out into the Drapion. The Alolan Sandslash comes in to meet it, but Drapion with an energy advantage actually is in a pretty decent position against the Alolan Sandslash, shielding up the Drill Run. Actually, really smart play from Legend Push to go for the Drill Run because you know that you're going to be behind on energy anyway, and going for Drill Run doesn't actually sort of put you at any disadvantage as opposed to like, well, I guess I should say that going for the Ice Punch bait puts you at no advantage because the turn you save won't get you another move in the grand scheme of things. So really nicely identified from Legend Push, and with that going down, we have the Diggersby coming back in. Diggsby going to get a Scorching Sands off here to get the KO. Unfortunately, looks like it was charge attack priority. Drapion actually not KO'd. It is on 1 HP in the back, and now CharmingP0ri is in a very strong position, being able to comfortably take the Trailblaze here. And Icy Wind is going to do a fair chunk of damage, and you can probably just Ice Shard. Oh, actually, no, it actually hangs on quite well. In my head, I feel like I thought that Florges had a grass typing as well. But regardless, we've got the second Trailblaze coming through and getting the KO, which I wonder if that was potentially like a misplay, but we do see Scorching Sands. Oh, okay, massive catch. The 1 HP on Drapion does matter. Drapion going down. Diggsby comes back in. The opposing Diggsby comes in, and now you need a move onto both Pokemon. Scorching Sands takes out the Diggsby. We're 3 mud shots away, and barely quick attacks get to the Fire Punch, getting the KO on Florges. And CharmingP0ri is really trying to pull out absolutely everything here. And it looks like, I was like, hang on, do we not have battle number 3? We do have battle number 3. We just have a little bit of a you win clip that I didn't actually edit out. But we do have a Diggsby mirror match in game number 3 as well. And CharmingP0ri running that same Dugong Drapion in the back makes a lot of sense, with Drapion being able to get that quick energy advantage when needing to swap out. And of course, we saw Dugong be able to soak a lot of damage, a lot of energy, I guess, in the back as well. Here again, we're just going to be throwing straight Scorching Sands back and forth, back and forth. CharmingP0ri going to hope that he doesn't get the debuff this time. No debuffs on it. CharmingP0ri's like against PSNXLegendPush, and no debuffs going either way. And so CharmingP0ri actually comfortably staying in, going for the charge attack priority this time. No threat of a Fire Punch KO. Gets the shield and the debuff against this Diggsby, and so Charming happy to let this Diggsby take the hit. Doesn't even KO, and now again we see this exact thing in action. CharmingP0ri's strategy, swap in the Drapion. We have an energy advantage over the Sandslash, which means you can comfortably throw 1 more charge attack than the opponent if you want to invest same shields. And so we do see now, Drapion actually going to no-shield this, and it's the Ice Punch call. What an insane call from CharmingP0ri, going like, I think you're going to try and get an advantage here, and it didn't pay off. I don't even think it was necessary, but then the catching to Diggsby as well. CharmingP0ri playing out of his mind here, because now the Dugong is in such a strong position. You can actually Ice Shard all the way down here, have energy to go into the back. It's the Florges again, and we've sort of seen this matchup play out in the zero shield scenario. CharmingP0ri recognizing that the second Trailblaze would do more than the first, so no shielding the first one. You're not going to be able to Fairy Wind down, which means that CharmingP0ri is in such a strong position here. Shielding up the move, will be able to get another Icy Wind off before Florges can, but a combo play instead. We've got the Aqua Tower coming in from the Drapion, getting the last Protect Shield. Diggsby comes in for the clip, in comes the Dugong to farm down, and now you still get a move onto the Florges. What an insane end game, and such props to both of these battlers, to be honest with you, for keeping track of all that was going on. But in the end, really nicely played from CharmingP0ri. Legendpush did everything they could to try and sort of get it back, but CharmingP0ri stayed on top of the game and was able to keep up and knew where his pieces needed to be. And really nice identification as well, being able to swap into the Drapion before a switch could come through from the opponent, getting that Aqua Tail, getting that last shield so that Dugong could close out the battle. So nicely played, and catches going on all the time from CharmingP0ri as well. So really love that gameplay. But it does mean that we are going into round number 6, the semi-finals here essentially. Both of these battlers, CharmingP0ri and Yeteruna, are undefeated so far. They are both 5-0 in this tournament, and Yeteruna, a battler that you may recognize if you watched the Brisbane Regional Championship, because Yeteruna, she actually came over to Brisbane to compete and did really well, top 6 with a very similar team. I love her team, by the way. It is so interesting. You've got here the Ariados, the Whimsicott, Swampert, Morpeko, Shadow for Alligator, and Alolan Sandslash. We loved it on the Brisbane broadcast. You can watch that. It's on the YouTube channel as well. But she has made one swap here. She brought the Whimsicott in. That wasn't here before, and so we are going to play it a little bit differently, but she is still running a Seed Bomb Morpeko, so it's Seed Bomb Aura Wheel. Both of those moves take 5 Thundershocks to get to, which means that Drapion can actually outpace, because it only takes 4 Poison Stings to get to its Aqua Tails. So Yeteruna doesn't have anything faster than that, which means that CharmingP0ri's Drapion is going to be incredibly important to defeating Yeteruna here. And so again, really love to see Yeteruna succeeding, and another person who did qualify for the playoffs as well. Pretty decent lead for CharmingP0ri, the Dugong into the Alolan Sandslash. Obviously, you've got that access to the super effective drill run, whereas the drill runs from the Alolan Sandslash are only going to be neutral to you. We can also see there is that Drapion hanging out in the back, and we also have the Diggersby, and this makes sense when you are playing a team with Morpeko. You have two Pokemon with access to ground moves, and Drapion that is in quite a good position as well, because if you're in a spot where Morpeko is able to get an advantage on you, you can quickly let the game get away from you. We do see the Zero Shield play out, where he's able to get the advantage, and now the Drapion is actually going to swap in, meeting the Swampert swap, which is a bit of a dangerous position to be in, the poison type against the ground type, but these Aqua Tails do add up a fair chunk of damage. A second one won't KO, but it does put Yeteruna in a bit of a tight spot, so she does decide to shield up here. The Hydro Cannon is more than enough to get a KO, and so CharmingP0ri going to burn the shield as well. Again, this is a spot where Yeteruna is, in some sense, in the driver's seat. There are no shields left in play, but potentially, I mean, a little bit greedy potentially, but yeah, CharmingP0ri gets the Aqua Tail here, and it is actually the Whimsicott in the back going to have to eat an Aqua Tail, and so this isn't going to do a ton of damage, but with the Poison Stings, it's already down into the yellow. There is a full health Diggersby here with access to Fire Punch. Yeteruna is not going to be able to fight through this Diggersby, not going to be able to get to 2 charge attacks, and so Diggersby going to get the KO here. Really just a nice alignment gameplay coming in from CharmingP0ri. We do see game number 2, a bit of a worse lead for CharmingP0ri. We have the Charge Bug going into the Alolan Sandslash. I'm fumbling my words a little bit here. We have the Drapion Dugong combo in the back as well. And again, we have 3 Pokemon that can do well into Morpeko, but the Swampert going to come in again into the electric type. And because CharmingP0ri is able to land the X-Scissor, this Dugong is in quite a strong position. You can see that Swampert doesn't actually do that much damage. We are going to have to, or Swampert is going to need at least 3 charge attacks plus the Mudshot damage to get the KO here. And CharmingP0ri has got so much energy that Yeteruna is really going to have to fight back hard to get an advantage back here. Turns out the Alolan Sandslash is coming back in. Drill Runs, again, obviously super effective, and so CharmingP0ri is going to be able to effectively take shields if they want them. They can shield up here, and they will, so they can get a Drill Run off. This is going to get a lot of damage onto that Alolan Sandslash. It isn't the Shadow, so not as much damage as potential, but the Charge Bug now going to come in for a combo play, get the Discharge onto the Alolan Sandslash, and now it is just a question of what is in the back. It could be that Whimsicott again, in which case Drapion is going to be in a relatively decent position. Even if it's the Morpeko, Drapion would be in quite a strong position, and so CharmingP0ri recognizing the strength of Drapion. Swampert is gone, Alolan Sandslash is just about gone, knew that he would be in a good position, and we can see it is indeed the Whimsicott. Crunch goes through, the Poison Stings are going through, so much damage, and this is going to be more than enough to get the KO onto Whimsicott, taking out Yeteruna's Whimsicott, and there is still the Alolan Sandslash here, but again, Drapion able to outpace, the Aqua Tail gets the KO, and again, CharmingP0ri quick on the stop record button, but still really nice gameplay. And Yeteruna again qualified for the playoffs. She did go 5-2 in this tournament, so I think she also loses her final rounds. But love the team. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see any Morpeko here, but if you do want to see her battle with Morpeko, I suppose that is what the Brisbane regional broadcast is for. So anyway, that does bring us to the finals, where again, I actually think that 52 Team Nadal is actually on 5-1 at this point in the tournament, so they are down 1. CharmingP0ri remains as the undefeated battler 6-0, and so 52 team going to come in with a very similar team here. We have the double ground type, like both of them have the ground type, both of them have Azumarill, both of them have Dugong, both of them have Malamar, both have Drapion, and both have Charge Bug. It is almost the mirror match, but CharmingP0ri does have the team advantage here, with that Diggersby having a much better play into the team than potentially the Clodsire. Malamar good into both, Drapion, pretty bad into both, Azumarill okay, although admittedly Clodsire does have the ability to go for Sludge Bombs. I'm not sure what moveset 52 team is running here, I suppose we'll find out, but definitely a very interesting team here, and I think that for both players, the ground types are going to be big. Malamar has potential to be big, and Drapion also has quite a bit of potential, excuse me. Although in saying that, I guess, actually, to be honest with you, I think all 6 Pokemon on both teams actually have reasonable play, which is kind of insane. So I think that it's entirely possible that we see all 6 Pokemon come into play through these battles. Let's take a look. We start off with the Diggersby into the Charge Bug. Terrible lead for 52 team. So we see the swap into the Dugong. Now, there is no hard check for this Dugong on the team here. And so we see the mirror swap into the Dugong. Love this strategy. It's an absolute classic. It's the chip and dip. When you're in a mirror match, especially with bulky Pokemon, and you have the opportunity to chip its health down, do more damage than the opponent's than your mirror match charge move will do, 52 team has no way to catch up in this matchup. They will lose if they play it all the way out. And so you see 52 team having to swap out into the Charge Bug, gets the Ice Wind off, and then swaps into the Diggersby. I'm loving this play from CharmingP0ri so far. Not going to see a lot of damage coming in from the Charge Bug onto this Diggersby at all. And we have that super effective Fire Punch damage to come in as well. The Drapion in the back is going to be incredibly powerful pretty much into everything on 52's team. The Clodsire could be a little bit tough, but it is actually the Azumarill in the back. And so CharmingP0ri, probably licking his lips at this point, gets a Scorching Sands debuff in, and I think that was the debuff. And so now the Drapion is going to be in a pretty decent position into the Azumarill, even calls the Ice Beam bait, which it's not a massive damage differential, but it is really massive when it is going to come down to these slim margins. You can see how low Drapion's health is getting, and at this point, a crunch from Charming is going to be, oh, it gets the shield and another debuff. This is not good for 52. Charming really using all of his luck here, and again, this Aqua Tail going to come in. It looks like there was a swap there. This Aqua Tail does get the shield out of the Dugong. At this point, you can even outpace to another Aqua Tail. This will KO the Dugong, I think, and then going to swap into the Diggersby, gets a Fire Punch. Again, CharmingP0ri, such good recognition of where his energy is. Really impressive win here. One more, a quick attack to take the KO there, and it is now game number 2. Malamar coming in up against the Azumarill. This time, Malamar in a bad spot, so we do see the swap into the Drapion, and you can see Charming going for quite a different team here as well with the Azumarill in the back. As I said, all 6 Pokemon have a lot of play here. So we are now going to see the play rough coming through. Charming does shield that one up correctly, and now going to be firing off the crunch into the Dugong that is now swapped in and gets another debuff. This is insane. Obviously, both players have sort of locked in their invitation to the playoffs at this point, but still really, really dangerous stuff in the finals. We have the Dugong surviving barely to get a drill run into this Malamar, but it doesn't do much, and now the Azumarill are going to come back in. This is a matchup we've been seeing throughout the 2025 season, where Malamar into Azumarill isn't that bad for the Malamar, especially when you have this much energy on the Malamar. So the Fire Play going to bring it down a little bit low, almost get the Psywave down, but instead we are going to see 52 swapping out into the Clodsire again, taking big super effective damage from the Psywaves. The Foul Plays are going to weaken it down as well. I wouldn't be surprised if you see a swap out here actually into the Drapion, sort of forcing that Clodsire to throw its big Nuki Earthquake, waste a lot of energy, and now CharmingP0ri is in a position where you can actually make the swap into the Azumarill. You can tank a charge attack from the Clodsire, throw the super effective Ice Beam, put yourself in quite a strong position. Tanks the Sludge Bomb. Here comes the Ice Beam again, throwing on good timing. You know, we're making sure that everything is all good. Gets that last Protect Shield, I think, and now going to go for a combo play, actually. Comes in with the Foul Play from the Malamar, recognizing that this Clodsire, and catch the move. That was Charge Attack priority. That is so deadly from CharmingP0ri. That is actually such an insane play. Gets the KO with the Azumarill, and the Azumarill comes back in. You've got the access to the Foul Play here that will do neutral damage, but it is not quite going to be enough here. The bubble from CharmingP0ri going to get the KO, and CharmingP0ri, actually I think that was a no bubble charge. CharmingP0ri gets the 2-0 in the finals, securing the big 7-0 result, which again, absolutely two showing up on the screen. I actually meant to click on this button to bring the sort of Dracoviz graphic back up. Well, actually, so I'll hide the team. I think it's this one. So you can actually see, whoops, we're messing all sorts of things up. Shout out to Dracoviz for making these really cool graphics. But you can see Legend Push actually came in second, Goji came in third, and you can see some of the other opponents, Yeteruna in the top 8, 52 team showing up in that top 16 as well. Just really impressive gameplay throughout, and to be honest, really lacking major issues. Just so clean, really just kept recognizing where they needed to be. It almost felt clinical in the way that they were able to just always have enough energy wherever they needed it. Really only 2 losses across the entire tournament as well, which is really, really strong. So massive thank you to CharmingP0ri for sending this footage through, and good luck to CharmingP0ri and the other battlers for the South Korean playoffs that will be taking place this weekend. So we'll see how they do go, and of course, again, subscribe for future content just like this. But with that said, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, especially that subscribe one, and thank you to my patrons and YouTube members mentioned down in the description as well. I don't have the the graphic on this scene, which is probably a problem that I should fix. I'll fix it for next time, swearsies. But with that said, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.